skydiving instructor, tandem examiner, FAA master parachute rigger, professional exhibition stadium jumper, and is one of only 6 national examiner directors for the United States Parachute Association. Jen earned her degree in education from K-State and taught in public schools and at the university level. She also has a degree in computer information systems and her master's in business administration from Ottawa University. Since 1998, she has owned an e-learning and web programming company, constructing both custom and CMS sites for rural water districts, small cities, and many counties across the state. Jen is a self-described plate spinner, not literally, but figuratively. She lives in Ottawa with her 2 children, volunteers at the schools and with the bands, teaches drum lessons at Ottawa Music Store, enjoys running, and claims to be addicted to the potential for efficiency. Successful businesswoman and entrepreneur and one of the country's leading female skydivers, Jen routinely shares the lessons and experiences of skydiving in years in business, drawing analogies to the field and history of skydiving in venues small and large, from summer children's programs to municipal conferences to the state of the Kansas Capitol building. In addition, she regularly writes articles for skydiving and non-skydiving publications, and her first book is hoped to be published soon. Please help me welcome Jen Sharp.
So, Jeannie, you wanted to know what I thought about cats who skydive? They will always land on their feet. Very nice. And Jeannie has not yet made a skydive with me. She plans to, but she did use Google Earth and zoomed in really fast. Okay, but I do, before we get started, I really actually have to say, I have a confession to make. I'm afraid of heights. And yeah, I am, really. I can be afraid of heights, because we're often afraid of things that really don't make sense, because really you shouldn't be afraid of heights. It's kind of like the sudden stop at the end that you should be afraid of. But a lot of times, if you boil down all the fear, I am actually sort of an armchair psychologist in fear. I strap people to me who are sitting on the edge of the plane for the first time. So I see this a lot. And if you boil down every fear, it usually boils down to the fear of the unknown. So you take any kind of system, like if you're going to jump out of an airplane, well, the parachute system is known, the weather is known, the instructor is known, there's a lot of known things there, but the one thing that's not known is you. You're the unknown piece in that system. So maybe you might discover something about yourself. So even if you have any intentions of skydiving ever, or not, perhaps today with some of my analogies about business and life and jumping out of airplanes, maybe you'll discover something. Maybe you discover your inner skydiver. I'd love to try to enlighten some of those thought particles in your brain. Okay, so but why would I jump out of an airplane if I was afraid of heights? Well, first of all, it's not really even similar to some of the, you wouldn't, it's not the same. You wouldn't even understand. But I have a lot of reasons why I would jump out of a perfectly good airplane. Probably my number one reason is because it makes you feel very vulnerable and very powerful at the same moment. Like, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this, right? So, but I get that question all the time. The question is, why would anyone jump out of a perfectly good airplane? So often that actually a lot of my friends and I came up with a top 10 list. So we're going to do a countdown here. The top 10 reasons why anyone would jump out of a perfectly good airplane. But I have to warn you, I kind of interrupt myself a little bit because I want to tell you some stories here too. Why would anyone jump out of a perfectly good airplane? Reason number 10, countdown number 10 is, well, by the meantime, I'm going to talk about decision making, creativity, problem solving, risk assessment. But number 10 is, the door was open. I can't really jump out of this place. Number 9, there is no such thing as a perfectly good airplane. Anyone who's owned an airplane can attest to that, right? Which reminds me of a story. Let's talk about decision making. Okay, so deciding to jump out of a perfectly bad airplane, that's kind of an easy decision, right? Deciding to jump out of a perfectly good airplane, now that's a little bit more difficult. So you might have to employ a little bit of decision making in that process. Because, you know, what are you going to do? You don't know. When the unexpected happens, that's when decision making is hard. If it's routine, you already have a system in place, no big deal. So, what if you expect the unexpected? So unexpected is sometimes you're going along with your flow routine and then something changes. It happens to us all the time. Okay, so everybody go like this. Put your hands together like this. Okay, now remember what thumb's on top here. Okay, switch it. Oh man, that feels weird. Okay, switch back. Okay, that feels comfortable. Okay, go back again. That's change. That's kind of, I don't know if I like that too much. Wait, cross your arms. Okay, now crossing the other way. I did it too. So if you're faced with change and you have to make decisions about it, instead of saying if this equal this, if this equal this, I use an analogy that we teach in skydiving called relax, arch, neutral. What is relax, arch, neutral? It's actually a body position that, like if a student is spinning out of control, you know, they're just learning how to fly their body, and they're going, woo, 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 and I'm in the air going, okay, how would I hang on to you, right? We teach relax, arch, neutral. That is, relax. Everybody take a big breath. Wow, that felt good. So you're breathing in, you're just getting centered, control of yourself again. Kind of a good thing to do if you're holding at the planet, you know, 120 miles an hour, you might want to kind of relax just for a second. You perform better when you're relaxed. Arch. So the arch is the body position where you have your hips forward, right? So we have them concentrate on the heaviest part of the body that makes you the most stable, right? And then neutral means your arms and legs are symmetrical, and they're in a position to move in any direction, not overextended, not overreacting. Everything's symmetrical and neutral. As you can see here, this is a picture of me taking a gentleman who was about 220 pounds. I'm 5'5", 114 last time I went to the doctor. And this guy was a little out of his element, if you can tell. He's hanging on to the door of the plane. We call this the cat in the bathtub move, you know. He does want to jump out of an airplane, but, you know, in that moment, it's very unexpected. There's change. There's some decisions to make. Do I want to actually get out of this airplane, right? So we employed relax, arch, neutral. I just talked to him, got him calmer. I just said, I didn't try to fight him and get his hands off the plane. I just talked in his ear very calmly. I said, put your hands on your harness. Okay? He ended up pulling. He did fantastic. So relax, arch, neutral. In those moments that happen, you can make better decisions that way if you're centered and focused. In my business, some of the things that might happen is, like, if you have change that are coming into your life. I mean, there's change all the time. Some of it you can affect, some of it you cannot. What does relax, arch, neutral mean? Well, it means instead of getting like all worked up about it, just take a break for a second and calm things down for yourself. Arch, what that means is look at all the elements that are going on and focus on the center, the most important things, things that have the heaviest weight. And then neutral. Isn't it true that if you keep overcorrecting, like you should see me trying to drive a motorcycle for the first time. Overcorrecting, right? So we want to stay neutral and balanced in our decision making for our businesses despite the change. And it just seems that long term that's going to be a better choice for you. I've been in business 18 years and I'm a drop zone that jumps out of airplanes in Kansas with low population center, and we're not known for weather. A lot of my national skydiving friends say, you guys actually jump in Kansas? Yeah, we do. We have friends, but it's okay. Okay, so let's get back to our top 10. What we're on number 8 here. Reason number 8. Why would anyone jump out of a perfect airplane? I don't like the way the pilot lands. Number 7. I didn't jump, I just fell. You don't really jump, actually. You just flop out there. So that reminds me of a story, though. Let's talk about problem solving. Once upon a time, there was an AFF student. AFF means assisted, meaning not tandem where you're attached to somebody. They're going solo, but you're hanging on to them if you fall. So they're on a 182. The instructor climbs out, hangs on to the student climbs out, and you know, he has some decisions to make right there, right? The pilot's looking over and they're flying on the plane, getting ready to leave. Ready, set, go! And the instructor leaves, but the student, instead of hanging on the strut, decides to keep hanging onto the strut a little bit tighter. Off goes the instructor, there's the student. The pilot radios down to ground, says, we have a problem. Yeah, the instructor's not there, the student is there. What are you going to do? But he keeps flying the plane, waiting for some sort of directions, right? And eventually, that guy lost his grip. He lost his resolve, he lost his grip. so he falls off the plane. So the pilot comes down and goes, well, problem solved. There are a lot of self-correcting problems if you just do the things that you know that work, right? You just keep doing the things that you know that work. We have something called look away, steer away. A skydiving student is coming. I always say students because you know you can blame them on their lack of experience, right? But you go where your eyes go, right? Skydiving student trying to land in the middle of this open field, one lone tree. Yeah, you already know. You beat me to the punchline there. You go where your eyes go. Uh-oh, there's that tree. Oh no, I'm going to hit that tree. Huge field. Everything is open all in front of you. Yep, lands on your tree. That's what happens, right? You go where your eyes go. So we have something called look away, steer away. Look for the things that are good. Problem solving by nature doesn't work. We spend an exorbitant amount of resources and energy trying to look at something, how to fix one little thing that's not going well, when most problems are actually self-correcting. You look at the things that you do like. I don't like you, I notice it, but you spend 95% of your time looking at something that does work. Positive, specific, not negative, babe, I don't want that. And some of that philosophy that I use when I teach students, I've used in my business, and it works really well. For example, when the financial stuff was really going on here a few years ago, I had some decisions to make, and I just decided I'm going to keep the best stuff I have, the best gear, this tandem rig, these components, put them all together, sold the other stuff, just the best stuff I kept, kind of downsized a little bit, kept the cash flow going, and since then, we've grown because of that. We make about 700 first-time jumpers every year, about 40,000 jumps total, 3,000 to 4,000 a year. So just by honing in, keeping things that work. Let's go back to our list here. Go on number 6. Someone has to make sure gravity still works. I'll volunteer for that. Reason number 5. It's more fun than jumping into a perfectly good airplane. And if you see how small skydiving airplanes and how many people we pack into them, you definitely agree with that one. All right, so number 4, I promised my mom I wouldn't. So of course you're going to do it, right? Which reminds me of a story. Let's talk about risk assessment. Moms don't like it when we take risk. We don't actually agree with their assessment of risk all the time either. But I would assume that maybe you don't really see the risk that you take every day. Of course, if somebody says, are you going to jump out of a perfectly good airplane? Is that risky? Yes, you would say that that is risky. But what about driving your car? The gentleman in the back, who are talking about the things that they see, they know that kind of risk. Right? I'm driving in my car on a 2-lane highway, going this direction, I'm going 60 miles an hour, in a 65, sir. and I have another car coming at me, going 60 miles an hour. We pass within each other, within a few feet of each other. We do that multiple times on a drive that only takes 30 minutes. And we're totally oblivious to it. But you don't know, there's so much out of your control. Like, have they been drinking? Or are they texting? You know, you have no idea the risk that you were taking. However, if I'm jumping out of an airplane, I'm falling at 120 miles an hour closing speed to this big, huge thing that I can't miss that's down there in front of me. And all I have to do to not hit it very hard is pull this little handle. Right? So, risk assessment. See what's actually there. Because we just numb ourselves to what we're actually seeing. Don't take somebody else's word for it either. Sometimes I've had a lot of people, because I'm small, I'm a tandem instructor, and a lot of people say, well, you're not going to be able to take people who are twice your size. I'm not. How do you know? Because you're not me. You haven't actually tried that. Of course, I didn't start by taking huge people. Just a little bit at a time. See what's actually possible. See what's there. Don't take somebody else's word for that. In business, for example, like if you say, what's the risk assessment for my business? Probably is a fatality. Jumping out of an airplane. You'd think that would be a huge risk. And I hear this all the time. Aren't you afraid your chute's not going to open? That's actually not the risk. The risk is not. If you go back and you study what fatalities are over the last about 30 years, it's actually a perfectly good parachute over your head turning low to the ground. So, if I'm going to look at that risk, I'm going to set up, which I did, the landing pattern that everybody who's at my place has to follow this particular landing pattern. We're stacking each other, and it's worked out great. And actually, some of the things that I've implemented have been passed on with other drop zones, and so we're reducing our risk that's real risk instead of perceived risk.
So see what's there. All right, so back to our top 10 list. We're back to number 3. It was a double dog dare, and you just can't turn those down. I've actually had a lot of people tell me that it was. Well, my friend is going. Okay, number 2. I had to find something to replace my nicotine addiction. All right, so that reminds me of a story. Let's talk about time management. So nicotine addiction, yeah, it takes a lot of time to make the kind of change like that, doesn't it? It takes really a whole lot of time. So what do you do when you're faced with change? You normally resist here. Okay, everybody clap for me here. Okay, notice which hand's on top. Switch it. Can I clap? Go the first way. Listen. Go the other way. Change his pitch a little bit. It feels uncomfortable. And sometimes we may think that the things that we do that are change may be inefficient. It takes time to hone some of that out. But you know, when people normally talk about time management, they talk about making good use of your time. I don't want to do that. That's too much work. What I want to do is I just want to make more time. So I figured out a way how to slow time down. I actually have a time machine in my head. I'm 111 years old. I have 3,300 skydives. I slow time down every time I'm in free fall. So I do actually, really, right? I'm falling at the earth 120 miles an hour. It's about 45 seconds of free fall. But it feels like a whole lot more because I can slow time down in my head. If you don't think 45 seconds takes a long time, how many of you have stood hungry in front of the microwave waiting on that burrito? That's 45 seconds. Yeah, you have a time machine in your head. So how do we do that? How do we slow time down? I don't want to make better use of my time. I want more time. We do it with a technique, and skydiving, when we teach people, is be here now. It's also called circle of awareness. What that means is you put your attention where you want it on purpose. Proactive instead of reactive awareness, right? So we train people to do it because how can you manage everything that's going on in free fall and look at your altimeter and pull on time? This is how. Be here now. Be. That's you. Right? Relax, arch neutral. You're feeling where you are in the moment. Here. That's your surroundings. What's going on around you now? How much time do I have? So we use that, be here now, and I've actually used that in business a lot too. For example, we get saturated with events because we have a short season. We're really busy, June, July, August, kind of September, and you know what? June and July's weather was really bad. We got a lot of events kind of crammed into one little space. How do I make all that happen? If you're just reacting to things that happen to you, it can become overwhelming. I mean, we've hosted national champions, state and world record holders, national board members, and training classes. We're trying to cram it all into one short season. So we use be here now to make that happen too. The now is more like a calendar though instead of seconds on your altimeter. Okay, back to our top 10 list. We're gonna go back to number 2 because you can't see number 1 yet. Are you ready? Ready for number 1? I bet you think you know what it is. I don't know. Number 1. Just to say I did it. Just to say I did it. That feeling of accomplishment. But it is pretty amazing. That feeling of accomplishment. Struggle does not result in accomplishment all the time, but you do have to have some persistence and keep going and a lot of creativity. If things don't work one way, making it something up and to be able to make it happen just so you can say, I did it. Which reminds me of another story. Let's talk about creativity. Creativity really means always have other ideas handy. Have other ideas that you aren't going to use yet. And brainstorm is a great way for that. I encourage my staff, especially the ones who've been there for a while, to just keep going and come up with ideas and don't stop yourself. We'll see if it's going to work. We'll see if it's going to fit in. But once you stop that flow, then you're stopping all the other future ideas that could have happened. Okay, so I left my best story ever for right now because this embodies not only creativity, but also decision making, time management, risk assessment, definitely problem solving. This is actually me, so I'll set this up a little bit, video of me. And I'm in Chicago. I broke the world record on the previous jump, but on this one, I broke my arm. This is awesome. This is such a good video. You actually can't see it. This is not gross or anything, okay? So we're set up in the door. This is me in the blue. Ready, set, go. My arm's broken right there. You can't even see it. So I'm in free fall and I'm going, okay, what do I do now? I'm going to use risk assessment. I'm going to see what's actually there, see what's going on here. That's not good. Yeah, it's probably broken. I have to admit, I was in denial though, because the gal with me wanted to go ahead and turn some points, so I did. And I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. So you notice me looking at my altimeter, slowing time down, trying to come up with creativity, some solutions. And I decide I have my reserve I could go with. I could try with my other hand. But eventually I just go ahead and pull it out with my broken arm. And so if I didn't shake your hand today, sorry, I'm still feeling good. And then now I have a parachute open. See, it worked. And now I gotta decide how I'm gonna fly a parachute and land with it. But hey, that's okay because two rights don't make a wrong. Oh wait, two wrongs don't make a right, but three lefts make a right. So it worked out, okay? Yeah, so my best story ever. How to, in 45 seconds, embody creativity, decision-making, problem-solving, risk assessment, and time management. And I'm here because, hey, it worked, right? So, as soon as I heal up, Jean's going to go jump. So, I appreciate you. You don't have to jump out of a perfectly good airplane to be able to discover these things about yourself. We have change coming at us all the time, and how you handle it, either centered and balanced, or just roll over and I don't know what the alternative is. But you guys are already doing this because we're here at an event like this where you're continually renewing yourself and educating yourself and self-reflection, integrity. And I really appreciate having you here today to listen to me talk about the things I love. And I want you to go and discover your inner skydiver.
We have some fabulous items here. Playing with you,
Okay.
Thank you so much. And the line will form in the back of those who want to sign up for a lesson or two. I think it was George W. Bush.
I don't know, he was 80s.
80s, yeah. So there's a chance for you all. So,
We took somebody 90 a couple years ago, 90 years old.
good job.
Yeah.
Good job. Well, thank you for coming to
Thank you.
hear all about that. I am York, and with our best bank.